Welcome to EverFocus IP Surveillance Technology Level 2 training. My name is Wan Chai and I will be conducting today's training session. The entire course material will be made available for download after the training is completed, so there is no need to write down what is being shown on the slides. At the end of the presentation, a question and answer session is available to clarify any questions that you may have. Today's training will be separated into two sections. Section 1 is on IP cameras. Section 2 is on NVRs. Inside Section 1, we'll talk about how to network an IP camera, how to use the IP utility, how to access the camera using Internet Explorer, how to upgrade the firmware of the camera, how to handle events, motion and tamper detection and alarm I/O, playing back recorded video, using an FTP server to store video, additional programs that's available to monitor IP cameras. In Section 2, NVRs, I will give an overview of the Commander, Elite, and ENVS NVR systems, an overview of a suitable network environment, setting up and using each of the NVR types, adding secondary storage, and selecting the right NVR for the application. IP cameras require connection to both data and power. There are two basic methods to connect an IP camera, either using a PoE switch or using a regular non-PoE switch. When using the EverFocus PoE switch, a single Ethernet cable is required to connect the IP camera. When using a non-PoE switch, an additional 12-volt DC power supply is required to power the camera. There are several benefits of using PoE. First is lower cost. A single cable is all you need to run to the camera location. You can remotely monitor and control the power consumption. It is more flexible. You do not need to run AC power all the way to the camera location. It is more reliable. Not having to provide AC power at the camera location can prevent power overloads, surges and spikes, and any power outages. The two models of PoE switches EverFocus carry is at the bottom of the page. We have the 16-port high-power gigabit PoE switch with two SFP ports. The two additional SFP ports can provide you with two additional non-PoE Ethernet ports, or can be used to connect to fiber lines. We also carry the 8-port gigabit high-power PoE managed switch. As a recap from Level 1 training on PoE switch power, it is important to know the total wattage the PoE switch can supply. EverFocus AO2.3 AT rated PoE switches can supply up to 30 watts per port. The 16-port version of the switch supplies 180 total watts. The 8-port version of the switch supports 130 total watts. Depending on the camera model, the PoE watts required per camera can vary greatly. The 8-port switch is fully capable of supplying power to all of the ports. However, the infrared cameras can use as much as 13.76 watts when the infrared LEDs are on. Therefore, the 16-port version of the PoE switch can only be used to supply power to 13 EHN3260 cameras as exampled below. EverFocus IP cameras ship with a CD in a box that contains the IP utility software. It is also available on our website at the download link indicated at the top of this page. This utility has the following main functions. It can detect EverFocus products on the local network. It can log in to selected products simultaneously using the same ID and password. You can set up the IP address information of the products once you have logged in. A single click can launch Internet Explorer to further configure the product. The IP utility has some additional convenient features, such as backup, restore, or copy product configurations. You can also do batch upgrade of the product firmware. IP cameras can be accessed directly using Internet Explorer. Simply type in the IP address followed by a colon and then the port number of the camera to access the web interface of the camera. If no port number is specified, the default HTTP port 80 is assumed. In order to access IP cameras over wide area networks, requires a different port number to be assigned to each of the cameras on the network and forwarded through a router. There are 3 different port types the camera uses to stream video. The HTTP port is for accessing using Internet Explorer. The HTTPS port is for using Internet Explorer over a secured network. The RTSP port is for accessing by mobile focus or other RTSP stream receivers. Port forwarding is accomplished by telling the router where to send the request. A from-to pair for each device is required for the router to know where to forward the data. Router interface differs from model to model. Please consult your router's owner's manual for additional information. The screenshot is taken from a Linksys Cisco router. As you can see, an external port number and a corresponding IP address and internal port number has to be supplied. It is a good idea to keep the external and internal port numbers the same. Some router models offer the feature called port range forwarding. This feature accepts a start and an end port number to be specified and will forward all of the port numbers in between this range to the internal IP address of the camera. Since each IP camera can use up to 3 different port numbers, using port range forwarding can reduce the number of entries needed to be configured in the router. After port forwarding has been set up, accessing the IP camera from the WAN is the same as before, by inputting the external IP address and the port number of the camera in the browser address bar. Most internet service providers do not provide a static IP address to their customers without charging an extra fee. In order to help our customers bypass the payment of this static IP address fee, EverFocus provides a free DDNS server to be used with our products. DDNS, or Dynamic Domain Name Service, allows the IP cameras to be accessed by a permanent host name, even when the IP address of the camera installation site is constantly changing. We achieve this result by doing the following steps. First, the camera periodically updates the DDNS server with its IP address. Second, the browser asks for the address of the IP camera on the EverFocus DDNS server. Third, DDNS server provides the public IP address of the camera to the browser. And finally, browser accesses the camera using the IP address given by the DDNS server. Setting up DDNS on the EverFocus IP camera is very simple. Enable the DDNS setting on the DDNS tab on the Network Settings page and input a camera name. Click on the Register Update button to check if the name is available. The camera name must be different for each camera, and many common names are already taken. Once a unique camera name is registered, it will be accessible by typing in the camera name followed by .everfocusddns.com in the browser address bar. The browser will then be automatically forwarded to the IP address of the camera. Firmware is the combination of programs and data running inside a complex electronic device which controls its behavior. It is the brain of the electronic device. EverFocus releases new firmware with enhanced functionalities for our current product lines periodically. It makes good business sense for the installers to keep your existing customers' firmware up to date, while also using this chance to seek out new business opportunities. The latest firmware for all the products can be found on our website. Installers can also register on our firmware release email list to be notified whenever new firmware is available for download. After obtaining new firmware file from the EverFocus website, installers can upgrade the camera firmware using Internet Explorer. browse to the camera's IP address, and from the main page, click on the System button to bring up system settings. Then click on the Maintenance tab, and at the end of the page, click on the Browse button to select the new firmware file. Then click on the Upgrade button to start the firmware upgrade process. It is very important that the firmware upgrade process is not interrupted, as it may leave the camera in a non-operative state. Firmware can also be upgraded by using the IP utility. IP utility also allows the simultaneous upgrade of multiple IP cameras. You can log into multiple IP cameras by selecting the checkbox on the left of the devices table and click on Login/Multi-Login button. The status column shows which devices have been successfully logged in. Click on Upgrade Firmware to browse to the firmware file and start the batch firmware upgrade process. Make sure to use the correct firmware file when upgrading different camera models. Events are activities that happen within the camera's field of view. Some events may require immediate actions to be taken by the user. Some common event types are motion detection, tamper detection, alarm input from the physical connections on the camera, and the manual control, also known as the panic button. Users can define up to 4 different overlappable rectangular areas with individually selectable sensitivity settings to detect motion that happens within the camera's field of view. To create a rectangle, first click one out of the 4 colors on the right side of the page. Then click in the sample image to mark the top left corner of the rectangle, and then click in the image again to mark the bottom right corner of the rectangle. A corresponding colored rectangle will now appear in the image. Enable the motion detection area by clicking on the Enable checkbox below and setting the desired sensitivity level. It is important to note that the higher the sensitivity setting, the easier it is to trigger false alarms. It may require a few tries to find the best sensitivity setting for each specific installation environment. Camera tampering is a common problem in the security industry. EverFocus IP cameras provide the user with the ability to detect such events and take immediate actions. Some examples of camera tampering are shown below. Tamper detection is always on by default with a 10-second detection timer. That means the tampering must happen for 10 seconds before the alarm is triggered. 10 seconds is also the minimum amount of time to trigger tamper detection. To create an action for this event, click on the Event Settings tab and add a new event. In this example, I have set the tamper detection event to trigger the physical alarm output connection on the camera for 5 seconds. Let's see a video on how this event is triggered. I have put my hand in front of the camera, blocking its field of view. The alarm out connection of the camera is wired to a LED, which should turn on when the camera detects the image has been tampered with. One alarm input connection is provided to physically connect to either a normally open or normally closed electrical switch to trigger the alarm input event. The below picture is from the camera's user's manual. The alarm output connection can be used to remotely control any electronic switch, such as a light, a siren, an electrical door latch, etc. These dry contact connections can also be set to normally open or normally closed, depending on users' needs. Each of the event types, motion detection, tamper detection, alarm input, and manual control, can be used to trigger multiple actions simultaneously. The available actions are log, trigger alarm output, send email, upload the video clip to the FTP server, record the video clip to the built-in SD card, record to the PC, or send a network alarm to the PowerVideo Plus CMS. The ARV viewer software included on the CD in the camera gift box can be used to play back IP camera recorded video. It's also available for download from the EverFocus website. The ARV viewer also allows the exporting of video files to the AVI format, as well as taking snapshots in BMP or JPEG formats. From the browser interface of the camera, the user can play back recorded video on the SD card. The playback button will activate when the camera detects the presence of an SD card in the slot. Users can search by datetime or by event. Matching video files will show in the recording list at the bottom of the page. Click on the file will give the start and end date time of the video clip and any event related to it. Click on the play button to play back the video clip, or click on copy to copy the file to the PC. FTP, File Transfer Protocol, is the standard method to transfer files from one device to another over an IP-based network such as the Internet. EverFocus IP cameras can directly record video to a FTP server and use the SD card as a backup solution if the connection to the FTP server was lost. This feature allows the user to not have to purchase a dedicated recording device such as a NVR. The following 3 slides demonstrate the setting up of a scheduled recording to a FTP server. Click on Network Settings page and then click on the SMTP/FTP tab. First, we must enter the IP address and the port number of the FTP server along with the username and password to log into it. A specific recording path can be assigned to each camera to separate video files from each other. A test button is provided to conveniently test the connection to the FTP server. Click on Apply to continue. Next, we must set up the desired recording schedule. Click on the Event Settings page and then the Schedule tab. Use the 4 radio buttons to select the type of recording desired, and then click on the time slots below to change the color of the time slot to the recording type. The example shows continuous recording during normal business hours and event-only recording for the off hours. Click on Apply to continue. Finally, we must enable the actual action of recording to the FTP server from the newly created Schedule Recording event. Click on the Event Settings tab and add a new event. In the Event Details pop-up window, click on the Upload to FTP checkbox and click OK. Click Apply to save this event. To add recording to the SD card as a backup to the FTP recording solution, click on the System Settings page and then the SD card tab. In the Event Recording drop-down box, select FTP Backup Only, or if you also want to use the SD card for event recordings, select the option called Both. Click on Apply to continue. We have now set up scheduled recording to the FTP server and using the SD card as the backup recording medium when the connection to the FTP server is lost. PowerVideo Plus is a CMS created for the viewing and managing of multiple EverFocus product categories, from the traditional analog DVR systems to HD DVRs, mobile DVRs, as well as IP cameras. The free version of PowerVideo Plus supports a max of 32 simultaneous IP camera live views and up to 16 IP camera recordings, essentially making it into a 16-channel NVR system. PowerVideo Plus comes with powerful features such as the floating matrix, where you can create up to an 8x8 matrix window and drag it to another monitor. Dynamic emaps, where you can upload the site plan of the installation, and place each camera onto the eMap for an intuitive view of the whole camera system. Network alarms will pop up messages and live video when events are triggered. For more information, please refer to the website link below. EverFocus also provides 4 different versions of smartphone apps for Apple and Android products. The free version of Mobile Focus allows the remote live view of most EverFocus DVRs and IP cameras. Mobile Focus Plus is available on the Google Play and Apple Store for $8.99 and adds the quad view and playback features for most EverFocus DVRs. EverFocus has 3 NVR product lines catering to different customer needs. The top-of-the-line ENVS system is a powerful Windows-based PC with 8 cores and 6 internal hard drive bays, specifically configured to run the EverFocus IP surveillance software and supports from 8 up to 64 cameras. It has free basic video analysis features such as object counting, missing and foreign object recognition, motion and temper detection. Up to 4 monitors can be connected to the ENVS system for displaying 2 live views and 1 playback video matrices, as well as having an extra monitor for camera configuration or any other tasks. The Elite is a small form factor desktop cube with 4 hard drive bays that's available from 4 to 16 channels. Both the Elite and the ENVS supports point-of-sale integration with all the major POS brands such as IBM, NCR, and Casio. This provides the customer the ability to record metadata from the POS system together with the video and be able to do searches based on the POS metadata. The Commander is a 1U rack mount system also with 4 hard drive bays that's available from 4 to 64 channels, targeting installations with large numbers of cameras, using the command chain technology for ease of administration. Up to 100 Commander NVRs can be grouped together and managed simultaneously. Image fusion feature allows the combining of videos from different cameras to form a large panoramic view. All 3 EverFocus NVR support on VIF as well as thousands of camera models from other manufacturers. Here's a quick recap on Throughput that was covered in the Level 1 training. Throughput is the maximum amount of data the NVR can record simultaneously from all of the cameras it is connected to and is measured in megabits per second. As you can see on the example chart, a 16 camera system set to stream at 5 megabits per second will reach the maximum capability of the Elite NVR. At 32 cameras, you will need to use the Commander or the ENVS. At 64 cameras or 320 megabits, ENVS is the only NVR you can use that satisfies the throughput requirement. In order to record additional cameras, additional NVRs must be added to the system. EverFocus recommends separating the camera network from the business network. Use the multi-network port design on the NVRs to separate camera network traffic from the monitoring PC and the business network. The Elite and Commander NVR each supports 2 network ports, and the ENVS provides 3 network connections to further divide the heavy camera traffic. For assistance in designing a robust network infrastructure, feel free to contact an EverFocus systems integration specialist for assistance. After connecting the NVR to the network and powered up, use the NVR Installation Wizard on the CD included with the NVRs to locate the IP address of the NVR. NVR network ports all defaults to use DHCP unless the order was shipped with the IP setup option. The NVR Installation Wizard will find the IP addresses of the Elite and Commander NVRs on the local network. For ENVS, look for the IP address in the Windows network connection details. After obtaining the IP addresses of the NVR, use Internet Explorer to access the NVR's web-based user interface. Simply type in the IP address of the NVR into the browser address bar, and the login screen of the NVR will be shown. The default username and password are both admin for all 3 NVR product lines. After logging into the Commander NVR from the browser, use the menu on the top right of the screen to switch between NVR settings and monitoring mode. To add cameras to the NVR, click on the Camera Settings menu on the left of the screen and fill in the info for each camera manually. Alternatively, you can also use the Camera Search tab to automatically discover cameras on your local area network. To set up video recording, click on the Recording Settings menu on the left side of the screen. You can select Always Record or record by a schedule based on either day or week. A different record schedule can be set up for each individual camera. Click on the monitor icon on the top right of the screen to enter Live View and Playback mode. Select the desired matrix size by clicking on the matrix icons at the bottom of the screen. From the content list on the left side of the screen, drag the camera into the desired matrix position to begin live viewing of that camera. After populating the matrix, you can save the configuration of this matrix by clicking on the plus sign in the view list to save this view. The PTZ control on the bottom left of the screen provides users with both optical and digital PTZ capabilities. The Commander also supports the marquee zoom function, where one can use the mouse to draw a rectangular area inside the camera view and immediately zoom to that area of interest, and then adjust the amount of zoom using the mouse wheel. The menu on the bottom right corner of each camera view provides quick access to common functions such as instant playback, snapshot, manual recording, disconnect camera, and content settings. The content settings function allows you to select the stream profile and aspect ratio. Selecting a lower stream profile when viewing multiple cameras in the matrix will reduce the loading on the PC and is recommended by EverFocus. Click on the Playback tab on the top of the screen to switch to playback mode. Drag the cameras you want to view recorded video from the content list on the left of the screen into the matrix to select them. Pick the date and time using the calendar control in the bottom left of the screen, or you can use the mouse to click and drag the time bars to move it to the desired time. Use the plus and minus signs on the bottom right of the screen to adjust the granularity of the time periods. Use the player controls in the middle left of the screen to change the direction of video playback and to change video playback speeds. Additional controls on the middle right of the screen allows the changing of matrix views and exporting the video as a snapshot or a video clip. Commander's command chain technology allows up to 100 commanders to be linked together virtually to simplify administration. You can then selectively view cameras from different Commander units as if they were all connected to one giant single Commander farm. To add a subserver, go to the Setup page of the primary Commander and click on the Network Setup tab on the main menu, and then select the Main Server/Subserver menu item. Register subservers by entering its IP address, streaming port number, and the admin user account password, and click Add. That is it. Now you can also see the cameras that's connected to the sub-commander in the content list. The image fusion feature on the Commander allows the customer to stitch multiple video streams together for a single panoramic view. To create an image fusion view, click on the down arrow on the top left of the screen to open the drop-down menu and select Image Fusion Editor. After the Image Fusion Editor opens, click on the plus sign on the bottom left of the screen to add an Image Fusion view. Give it a name and description on the top of the screen, and click on the plus sign on the bottom right of the screen to add cameras. You can then rotate and change the scale of each camera to construct the Image Fusion view. After logging into the Elite NVR, you will go to the Settings page by default. On the top right of the page, you have a menu that allows the user to switch between Settings, Live View, or Playback modes. To add cameras to the Elite NVR, fill in the connection information for each camera manually, or use the Camera Search tab to automatically add cameras connected to the LAN. Click on the Live View link on the top of the screen to enter Live View mode. Drag a camera from the devices list to the matrix to start viewing. PTZ controls below the devices list will automatically become available for compatible cameras that support PTZ functionalities. To enable digital PTZ, right-click on the camera view and select Enable Digital PTZ. You can then use the same PTZ controls on the right to manipulate the view. Select different matrix sizes and other viewing options using the icons on the bottom of the screen. You can also launch the EMAP window, the Alarm I/O panel, pause and resume cameras using the icons at the bottom of the screen. To configure video recording, go back to the Settings screen and click on Recording and Event from the menu on the left. The Recording Settings page will show up, allowing you to select No Recording, Recording by Schedule, or Always Record. To configure recording schedule, click on the Recording Schedule tab on the top of the screen. You can then create a schedule based on day or week. You can set up a different recording schedule for each camera. Click on the Playback link on the main menu at the top of the screen to change to Playback mode. Click on the Database Search by Datetime icon to select the camera and the time segment of the video you want to view. Within a selected time period, you can then use the Smart Search function to find video by events, such as motion, foreign object, missing object, or camera tampering. Different matrix sizes and viewing options are available by accessing the icons on the bottom right of the screen. The usual playback controls such as stop, play, step forward and backward, as well as a draggable time bar, can be found directly below the video image at the bottom of the screen. The ENVS defaults in live view mode, but before we can see any cameras, we will need to add them to the system. The main menu of the ENVS consists of the 5 icons that are at the bottom of the screen. The icons from left to right are Start Menu, Playback System, Schedules, Events, and General Settings. Click on the General Settings icon that is shaped like a hammer to open the Settings window. From the General Settings window, click on the Camera tab to enter the Camera Settings page. Click on the Search icon on the top left of the screen to automatically search for cameras on the local area network. You can also manually insert cameras using the Insert icon next to the Search icon. The device list shows the list of cameras already added to the system. Selecting a camera on the device list will give you a small preview of that camera's live view image, allowing you to verify the connectivity to that camera. Additional settings per camera can be accessed by clicking on the different buttons located at the center bottom of the screen. Enable OSD controls using the checkboxes on the bottom right of the screen. You can then add common information right on the camera image, such as date, time, camera number, name, and bitrate. Click OK once you are done to close the camera settings page. The cameras we have just added will automatically populate the main matrix in the live view mode. If you have a second monitor connected, you can enable it from the Start menu icon that looks like a circle with a center dot from the main menu icons at the bottom of the screen. You are allowed to have 2 live view matrices and another matrix for playback on the third monitor. Use the different matrix icons at the bottom of the screen to select a desired matrix size. Some useful system information and status are shown on the right side of the screen, such as CPU loading, free hard drive space, total bandwidth, etc. You can select what information to display in the General Settings menu. The PTZ controls are at the bottom right of the screen. To set up recording, click on the Scheduler icon at the bottom of the screen. Similar to the Elite and the Commander, each camera can have their own recording schedule based on day or week. The ENVS Playback screen contains the typical player control buttons at the bottom of the screen. The matrix view controls are on the right side of the screen. The Daytime Search button will bring up the available video time periods to select a segment for playback. Backup, export, print, and volume controls are located toward the bottom right of the screen. Basic real-time video analytics functions, such as object counting, missing or foreign objects, are included for free with the ENVS.
Optional advanced analytic licenses are available for purchase. In this example, we are showing the object counting IVS by defining two detection zones indicated by the blue and the green rectangles. Objects traveling between these two rectangles will be counted by the ENVS. To see video remotely using the Nevio Remote App or the Remote View Client for each of the three NVR product lines of a wide area network, we must forward the video streaming ports of the NVR. We can change the default video streaming port in the network service settings from 5150 to the port number desired. The Elite NVR allows up to 64 simultaneous stream connections, and the ENVS can support up to 128, while the Commander allows up to 256. After setting up the remote streaming ports, you can use the remote viewer to see camera streams from different NVRs. The Elite and the ENVS shares the same remote viewer software for Windows, and the Commander has its own version of remote viewer that also is available for the iMac. When using the remote viewer to stream multiple camera streams in the matrix, it is recommended to lower the stream profile in order to reduce the loading on the viewing PC and the NVR. You can do this by right-clicking on the camera image and select Stream Profile. There is no point to stream a full HD video image when it will only be displayed in a small window inside a quad view or an even higher density matrix window. Lowering the stream profile will also reduce the bandwidth required on your network. All three NVR product lines come with the Nevio Remote App to view camera streams on your Android or iOS-based smartphone or the iPad. The iPad version allows the monitoring of up to 40 camera streams simultaneously. Each of the NVR product lines allows the addition of secondary storage. Using cheaply available secondary storage options allows the customers to retain video for longer periods of time. The ENVS can automatically backup video using the network sharing option built into Windows. The Elite and the Commander can be configured to backup video to an FTP server. The EverFocus sales engineering team can assist in helping you design and configure a complete secondary storage option. With all three NVR product lines available to the installer, it is easy to select the right NVR for the job. The general rule is to use the Elite NVR for smaller installations due to its smaller size and lower cost. Use the ENVS for larger installations that require integration with access control, POS, or real-time video analytics. Use the Commander for jobs requiring connections to hundreds of cameras to simplify camera administration. The flowchart on the right gives you a guide on which NVRs to select based on some simple criteria. If you have any special projects with custom requirements, the EverFocus sales engineering team can help design a complete solution for your customer.